Good morning children, I am back again with my next video on class 9 geography chapter 1 India size and location. In the last two videos we learnt about size and location of India on the basis of latitudes and longitudes. We also learned about relationship of India with the world, and let us see what we are going to learn in this video. In this video, we will learn about India's neighbors. That means today I'll be covering the topic of neighboring countries of India, neighboring island countries of India, geographical and historical links of India with the neighboring countries definitely, and how India stands apart from Asia. Being a part of Asia, still it is considered as a subcontinent. Why it is considered as a subcontinent? Today we all are going to learn these things in the video. Let us begin discussing the first topic of this video, that is India's neighbor. Children, as you can see it on the picture, India shares its land boundary with many of the neighboring countries. But before reading this topic in detail or understanding this topic, we should understand a basic concept that India lies in the continent of Asia. And as I explained in my previous video, that the position of India in the continent is at the southern side. That is why India is called as a South Asian country. And apart from that, the southern part of India, that is the peninsula of India, is actually occupying a very important position in Bay of Bengal. And because of this important position only, India has occupied a very strategic position in the South Asia. Apart from that, we all know that India is a cluster of 28 states and 8 union territories. After the Kashmir Reorganization Act 2019, the state of Jammu and Kashmir has been divided and bifurcated into two, that is Kashmir and Ladakh, and they both have been given the importance of union territories. Okay. Now, India shares land boundaries with, see children, when we can see it on the map that the water boundary is not being shared by any of the country, as we all know that the oceans act as a barrier to share the boundary with any of the country. On the other hand, if we check that India shares land boundaries with many neighboring countries, the first country with whom the India shares land boundary is Pakistan. After moving from Pakistan, when we reach to the top, that is in Jammu and Kashmir, you can see this small stretch on the top. Okay, this small stretch is basically sharing the land boundary with Afghanistan. Okay, moving down, when we are coming down, on the other hand, we can see that the state of Jammu and Kashmir, Himachal, Uttarakhand are sharing the land boundary with China. Then when we come down, we can see the states of Uttar Pradesh, Bihar are sharing the land boundary with Nepal. Moving forward, when we check, the state of Sikkim and Arunachal Pradesh share the land boundary with Bhutan. And then again we have continued sharing the land boundary with China. Moving down, we are sharing the land boundary with Myanmar. Myanmar earlier name was Burma. And now moving forward, we can see as my cursor is moving that we are sharing the land boundary with Bangladesh. Bangladesh is sharing with us on three sides. It is sharing the land boundary from three sides, and by this way India has almost how many neighbors? Let us count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 neighboring countries which are there who are sharing the land boundaries with India. See, the sharing of land boundary gives an eminent position to India because all these countries are involved in exchange of trade and business and culture with India. And that is why through these land boundaries, there is an extensive exchange of trade, culture, currency and all in India. In the last topic, we understood about India's neighbor, those who are sharing land boundaries with India. But now we should also understand about the southern neighbors, basically the island countries who are also our neighbors. The southern neighbors across our sea are the two island countries. They are Maldives and Sri Lanka. These two island countries are basically our southern neighbors. And children, let us discuss one by one in detail. Now, when we talk about Sri Lanka, we all know that Sri Lanka is our southern neighbor, and Sri Lanka is divided by India. That means Sri Lanka is being separated by India through a narrow channel of water body which is called as Park Strait. This narrow channel of water body is called as Park Strait, which actually separates India and Sri Lanka. In fact, at one part of the time in this area, there is a Gulf of Mannar. Now, Gulf of Mannar also lie between Sri Lanka and India. Okay, now what is Gulf of Mannar? Gulf is basically an area or a patch of land which is almost covered in water, but a small part of it is attached to a neighboring country. So that is Gulf of Mannar, which lie between India and Sri Lanka. Okay, now let us talk about Maldives. Maldives is situated in the south of Lakshadweep. See children, when we are talking about the directions in geography, now class 9th, you cannot say that it is situated up, it is situated down. Now you have to move on with the directions, that is east, west, north and south. So here are the Lakshadweep Islands. Now to the south of Lakshadweep is the Maldives. Now Maldives is also our southern neighbor island. Now children, in the last two topics we read about India's neighbors, the land neighbors as well as the southern neighbors of India, that were the two island countries. Now it is time to understand geographical and historical links. See children, how a country develops its geographical link is through the shared land boundary. As we share the land boundary with Pakistan, Afghanistan, China, Nepal, Bhutan, Myanmar and Bangladesh, we tend to share the geographical links also. How we share a geographical link? We often share water bodies, we often share the agricultural system or the agricultural pattern, and because of these geographical links, it also influences the climate of India. So, because of these links, India has a very strong link with the neighboring countries. Now, when we talk about historical links, children, as I told you that the sea routes were developed very late. So, the people at those times used to travel through land through passes. So that has developed in exchange of history. Okay, and in terms of trade and culture, people started developing in terms of trade and culture. They started developing in terms of selling goods and services from one part of the country to other country by traveling through passes and through roads. And when they started traveling, that led to the development of civilization. The most oldest and the popular form of civilization which came to India was Harappan civilizations. In terms of land sharing boundaries, when we talk, India also shares very good ties with different parts of the country where they often exchange basic commodities. And in terms of people also travel from one country to another. In terms of their business or their job or the property that they are trying to buy in different parts of the nation, or in case they are working for a job, they are trying to set up the business, people also get exchange. The spiritual reasons are also there for exchange of people. By this way, India has a very strong geographical and historical links with its neighboring countries, which is fostering its relation to be a very good neighboring country with others. How India stand apart from Asia? A very big question in our mind when we already know that India lies in the continent of Asia. But children, because of physical features of India, India has been constantly called as Indian subcontinent. To understand physical features of India, we will study it in the next chapter. But before that, let me explain you and give you a rough idea that why India is called as Indian subcontinent. Okay, the first thing that has been a reason to be called India as a subcontinent is its physical feature. The first physical feature includes that the desert areas in this area, I am moving the marker, the desert area The swampy areas and forests. See the first pointer, that is swampy areas and forests. The desert and the forest areas in this area act as a no man's land. Now what is no man's land? No man's land is that land where people's living is almost hampered. There is very minimal habitat living. So this part of India has been separated from Pakistan because of swampy areas, forests and deserts. Okay, only this part of India is easily commutable to Pakistan, that is through Amritsar. We can easily commute to Pakistan by moving through Wagah borders or by Atari railway stations. Right. When we move forward to this part of India, see my blue marker which is moving. We have lofty Himalayas which separates us from China and from Afghanistan. See here the word lofty means they are extremely big in size. You cannot, mountains का मतलब ये नहीं है कि you can ride over, move over to them and you can come down and slide down to the other country. No, they are extremely big in size, huge in size, and that is why they act as a barrier and separate India from Afghanistan, China, and moving on to this area, we have already Uttar Pradesh has been separated by Nepal due to the dense forest and the tracks, and then this part of area has an extended forest areas. Arunachal Pradesh and all, they have an extended forest. Now when you move down to this area, India already has the longest coastline which separates India from other part of the world. So by this way, if you actually see the marker, India, although being a part of Asia, but then still it looks like it is a separate country which has been separated by various physical features to make it stand apart, and that is why India is called as a subcontinent, because it has its own physical features which make it stand unique all over the country who are there in Asian continent, and that is why India is called as subcontinent, because of its extreme physical features that are prevalent in India to make it stand out and to make it an exemplary country all over the world. Understood? With this, we come to an end of this chapter. I hope you have understood the chapter very carefully. Please read your book, go through the chapter again, see the videos again. In the description box, I have attached a list of important questions which are repeatedly asked from this chapter and that are assumed to be framed from this chapter. Thank you.